During Prime Minister Narendra Modi's first face-to-face meeting with US President Joe Biden, and later in the first in-person Quad meeting, the looming presence of China will be unmistakable. AUKUS, a military alliance comprising Australia, UK and the US, as well as Quad, a strategic alliance comprising India, Japan, US and Australia, both groupings aimed at doubling down and countering the Chinese challenge in the Indo-Pacific region. But India, unlike the other member nations of these alliances, shares a border with China, which puts us in a rather unique position. Now, China's hostility is not limited just to the east. Chinese influence is also writ large in the west, with Pakistan more than willing to do China's bidding. And now, China seeking to exploit the chaos in Afghanistan, play a bigger role there and even engage with the Taliban. Now, how to deal with an aggressive, expansionist China? A China that not only seeks to assert itself territorially, but also via economic bullying. Another key part, of course, of their playbook is economic bullying. Okay, we're going to discuss all of this in just a bit, but I want to go across to my colleague Sushant from the Times Network, who is in Washington right now.
अमेरिका के राष्ट्रपति के घर के बाहर यानी वॉशिंगटन के व्हाइट हाउस से ये वो जगह है जहां पर आज प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी और अमेरिकी राष्ट्रपति जो बाइडेन की मुलाकात होनी है और इस मुलाकात को लेकर बहुत गहमा गहमी है पूरी दुनिया में। पाकिस्तान से लेकर चीन, अफगानिस्तान से लेकर तालिबान और दूसरे देश तक ये देखना चाहते हैं कि आखिर ये दोनों राष्ट्र प्रमुख जब मिलते हैं, पहली बार मिलते हैं, क्योंकि इससे पहले जब जो बाइडेन से मुलाकात हुई थी तो वो उपराष्ट्रपति थे, लेकिन प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी से जो बाइडेन की ये पहली मुलाकात होने जा रही है और इसमें क्या होगा, क्या निकल कर आएगा, इस पर हमारी नजर रहेगी। ये तस्वीर देखिए अमेरिका की, अभी अभी यहां सुबह हुई है और ये सुबह बड़ी खूबसूरत नजर आ रही है अगर आप इस लिहाज से देखें कि कैसे सूरज की रोशनी जो है वो व्हाइट हाउस पर धीमी सी पड़ रही है। एक सुनहरी तस्वीर निकल कर आ रही है सुबह सुबह, लेकिन क्या जब दोनों राष्ट्र प्रमुख मिलेंगे तो भी इतनी ही सुनहरी तस्वीर भारत और अमेरिका के रिश्तों के लिए, इतनी ही सुनहरी तस्वीर दुनिया के लिए निकल कर आएगी? आज ये सबसे बड़ा सवाल है। क्या पाकिस्तान का मुद्दा उठेगा? कल तो उठा जब उपराष्ट्रपति कमला हैरिस से मुलाकात हुई, लेकिन क्या आज भी उठेगा? कितने गंभीरता से उठेगा? अमेरिका के लिए तस्वीर बदल चुकी है। वो अफगानिस्तान में अपने सैनिकों को वहां रखने पर पाकिस्तान के सहयोग के लिए मजबूर नहीं है। तो क्या भारत एक नया आयाम जो है वो गढ़ सकता है अमेरिका के साथ मिलकर आतंकवाद को खत्म करने को लेकर, तालिबान को लेकर, अफगानिस्तान को लेकर? दोनों देशों को कैसे साथ चलना होगा? कोरोना के संकट के बाद जब अर्थव्यवस्थाएं फिर से खड़ी हो रही हैं, उसमें भारत और अमेरिका की भूमिका क्या होगी? वैक्सीनेशन को लेकर क्या होगा? दूसरे क्षेत्रों को लेकर क्या होगा? डिफेंस सेक्टर को लेकर क्या होगा? क्वाड का क्या होगा? ऑकस का क्या होगा? ये तमाम ऐसी बातें हैं जिस पर आज भारतीय प्रधानमंत्री चर्चा करने वाले हैं। इंडियन डायस्पोरा का यहां पर एक कार्यक्रम भी रखा गया है। आपको बताऊं, क्योंकि प्रधानमंत्री का कार्यक्रम कोरोना काल की वजह से बहुत सीमित रहा, इस बार वो भारतीयों से उतना नहीं मिल पाए एयरपोर्ट को छोड़कर, लेकिन आज वो जो एक कसक है यहाँ के भारतीयों के बीच के हम प्रधानमंत्री को देख नहीं पाए, मिल नहीं पाए, वो आज दूर होगी और यहाँ पर वो कार्यक्रम होगा। कई भारतीय भी यहाँ पर आने वाले हैं।
Sushant, thanks so much for that. There is, of course, a broad overview of what's on the agenda, what's likely to be discussed. And to add to that, well, joining us this evening, Meera Shankar, former diplomat to the US, Raymond Vickery, author and strategic aspects of the Indo-US economic management, Dr. Tara Katta, former director, National Security Council Secretariat, and Dr. Deep Pal, visiting fellow, Carnegie Endowment for International Peace. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us on Mirror Now. I appreciate it. Meera Shankar, if I can start off with you. India's dealing with a very different US today. Now, and I don't mean just in terms of the leadership that has changed, but also America's position in global affairs and this new world order.
Yes, I think that at some level, the US is looking at a less interventionist approach globally. And this is something which actually spans both parties. It started with Trump and has been continued by Joe Biden, who has basically said we are going to use diplomacy to the extent possible and use force only as a last resort. So that's a very different US from the one which actually thought of preventive interventions in countries like Libya and Syria, and of course had also intervened in Afghanistan and Iraq. But I think that this is to the good because the US is focusing on grand strategy now and the challenge that it faces from China, which has become a serious challenger for the US in the economic and technological realms, particularly, but is also playing catch up in the military realm. So I think that this is something which should be welcomed. The other is that the US is looking to work with partners to share, to have some burden sharing. And we see that in Asia, where you have the Quad, which is taking shape. And now the US has just announced a formal defense pact with the UK and Australia, under which it will transfer nuclear submarine propulsion technology to Australia to build these subs in Australia. So I think the US is putting in place the pieces that it thinks it would need to deal with the challenge of China in Asia.
Mm-hmm.
And for India too, this is important because we have been concerned about increasingly assertive Chinese behavior in the Indo-Pacific, including on our borders. So that's an area of strong convergence between the two countries.
Well, Meera Shankar, I think you touched on several aspects, several crucial aspects, and we need to drill down into each of those. Starting with, of course, the China feature, which is a specter that's looming large in all what you mentioned, Quad, in AUKUS, in the bilateral meeting between Modi and Biden, of course. Dr. Deepal, now, unlike other countries in Quad or AUKUS, India has a physical border with China to the east. But it's not just that, there's also the Chinese influence to the west, both in Pakistan and Afghanistan. So while this Indo-Pacific region is of concern, no doubt, are there dangers and threats from the AFPAC region, especially in the aftermath of the US withdrawal? Is that taking a backseat?
Right. Thank you for having me, Aarti. I think I wouldn't call it taking a backseat as far as the Quad is concerned. The goals of the Quad are, the Quad is basically a loose coalition of like-minded countries. That is what it has been defined as. That is what it calls itself. And if you look at the deliberations that happened when the leaders met virtually earlier, and the deliberations that have happened since, that is what they talk about. So this is basically about a rules-based order in the Indo-Pacific. Now, does Afghanistan or AFPAC come into that? I'm guessing it does. But at the same time, there is also this understanding, if you look at the four countries that form the Quad, or even if you look at India and US relations, there are spaces where the four countries feel differently or are agreeable to go to different extents. So on Afghanistan, for example, there are some structural differences in the way India sees the issue and the United States sees the issue. That does not mean that they can't work together either on Afghanistan or on other issues. The question is, to what extent are they ready to go together? Right. And that is something that I think is very, very important to understand. The role of China, or for any other country in Afghanistan for that matter, is something that the US has its eye on and is concerned about. But at the same time, I think the way India sees Pakistan's role, for example, in Afghanistan, or even China's role in Afghanistan, is different from the way the United States or the other Quad members will look at. And I think it is very important to understand and highlight that distinction.
Mm-hmm. Well, let me take that to Dr. Tara Karta. Dr. Karta, now, there is this ongoing discussion on Quad versus AUKUS. Are they contradictory? Are they complementary? Everybody agrees that China is a threat, but does it serve any purpose to have two different groupings who have a common, I don't use the word enemy, but a common concern? Should they have two different groupings, one strategic and one military?
I think it's as well to refer to the US administration official who was quoted today in a briefing, where he made it very clear and he said, I underscore the fact that Quad is an informal gathering of leaders, which is quite unlike what the AUKUS is. So, like the earlier speaker said, it's an entirely different thing. Those are treaty partners. We are not treaty partners, right? Having said that, I mean, he also emphasized what we are fostering is a habit of cooperation in different areas, in vaccines, in terms of semiconductors. I think that's going to be a big breakthrough this time with the US. I mean, President Biden has a huge initiative in semiconductors, vaccine diplomacy, of course, as I said, and they're going to have a whole bunch of students going up and down, coming from Quad countries to the US. That is what they're going to announce probably tomorrow. And there's a lot of things in the same vein. They are also not, there was no specific mention of China, but what President Biden, I think, made clear in his earlier speech was that defense is the last option. I mean, using the military, sorry, not defense. Military is the last option, diplomacy first. That's what he's been saying all along. So, but he also said that we will push back very hard in terms of competition with any country. So they're not, I think they're also kind of, sort of backing out and not trying to present the Quad as definitely not a military alliance. I mean, that was made very, very clear in the briefing today. For us, the point is, at the fact that we exercise with Quad members, that the Malabar exercises, however, is from 1992. It is nothing to do with the Quad. The Malabar exercise has since expanded. Yes, you've included Australia. That is important. So you're doing things without actually tying it to the Quad. You're developing, as the President Biden said, a habit of cooperation in different areas. That includes defense. But there's one thing also you might want to flag is that our imports of US equipment has gone up hugely. I think it's about, according to one analysis, is about $22 billion over the last decade, and probably another couple of 10 billion odd coming up soon. So what does that mean? When you're taking in US imports, that means interoperability. So you see, you're doing things with the US and with Australia. You have a framework now for the Quad, which is the 2+2, without actually having any kind of alliance in place. And I think that suits us fine.
Dr. Karta, just for our viewers, in fact, the visuals that you're seeing on your screen right now are from Washington. These are live visuals coming in. We're told that the Prime Minister has just reached White House. Let's just see, in fact, if you can get visuals of him stepping out of that car right now. Okay, the Prime Minister has just reached the White House, and you can see him walking there inside the White House. A short while from now, of course, there will be that photo op with President Biden. This is, of course, their first face-to-face meeting. Raymond Vickery, Indo-US ties, as I just started off by asking, Meera Shankar, this is not the same America that we're dealing with. This is not the same, and it goes beyond, of course, just a change of guard in the US, but more in terms of global groupings, global realignments, and a diminished, perhaps, image of America post its withdrawal from Afghanistan.
Well, it's true that there are changes which have taken place in terms of approach, but one thing that to be kept in mind is that in Washington, D.C., there is strong bipartisan support for the U.S.-India relationship, beginning with President Clinton, going through President George W. Bush, Obama, and through Trump, and now to Biden. There has been a consistency in wanting to strengthen this relationship between these two great democracies. I think another point, if you keep in mind, is that look at the Quad. It's the four leading democracies of the Indo area. And there may not be a military component per se, but a free and open Indo-Pacific is in the interest of India, the United States, Japan, and Australia. And for them to be able to get together on the military side as well as the security is extremely important. So I think we'll see deliverables in regard to COVID and vaccine diplomacy. We'll see some deliverables in regard to structure to counter China's Belt and Road. I think that in emerging technologies, we see new announcements in regard to how supply chains reach from India to the United States. And of course, the president already made plain and will be with the prime minister today about climate change. Against all this is on a course of what's happened in Afghanistan and the aggressive moves of China. But it's very important to realize that peace and security has not only a military, but encompasses these other issues. So I'm very encouraged that this is taking place. It's the first person-to-person encounter since the pandemic has started. And I think it's a very good sign.
Okay, I just want to go across to my colleague from the Times Network, Nikunj Garg, who's outside the White House, and he's just bringing us the latest from there.
The two leaders will find out some moments of privacy to talk about issues that probably cannot be discussed or they do not wish to discuss in the presence of others. So that certainly, if it happens, will be notified by both the Americans and the Indian side. Indian side, of course, the entire delegation, quite a high-powered delegation from External Affairs Minister to the National Security Advisor. National Security Advisor also, Rahul, have been having certain meetings on the side, and those meetings are extremely crucial because remember, we can never probably set aside or cast aside the security component from Indo-US relationship, in the sense that the kind of overbearing presence that the United States of America has in Pakistan in terms of both their diplomatic heft and their financial heft in that country. So those meetings are also taking place, and some part of that component will translate into this bilateral meeting as well.
Okay, Nikunj, thanks so much for that. And thank you to all our guests for just waiting as we took a bit of a detour to Washington, D.C. there as the Prime Minister has just reached the White House. We are expecting a photo op in the first meeting with President Biden a short while from now. Deep, now, a lot of nations in Quad and AUKUS are united in their opposition to China's expansionist policies. But there is another aspect of that. This is not just territorial, this is also economic bullying that in several ways China plays. It is a key trade partner for several nations. So how do you square off the Chinese territorial threat with the economic coercion that it is capable of, something that we're in fact seeing playing out with Australia?
Absolutely. In fact, that is something that we, as you mentioned, we did see happen with Australia. The economic bullying, I think in the recent months, Australia has faced it far more than any other members of the Quad. And that is exactly why, if you look at how Quad has carried on its business, they have been talking about a rules-based order, a coalition of like-minded partners. At the same time, in the last meeting in March, where the four heads of state, they met, the leaders of the four states, when they met for the virtual Quad meeting, they talked about forming three working groups, which included, of course, vaccines, which understandably is the need of the hour, but also climate change, as well as critical and emerging technology. And by doing this, there has been this constant focus on the economic aspect of it, on ensuring that supply chains there are supply chains that are available to not just these four countries, but a large part of the world as alternatives to China. Now, China is obviously not, you won't hear China being talked about exactly in these terms. The C word doesn't ever come up when the four countries meet or talk about Quad, at least in public. But at the same time, it is not very difficult to understand that that is at the core of these deliberations and figuring out ways in which not just territorial issues, but even economic issues, the bullying can be taken care of should the need arise or should the time come.
Okay, the C word may not be used very often, but of course that is the undertone, that is the elephant in the room, and I want to get Mr. Vikri in on that as well. But just a quick news update coming in. President Joe Biden just about 3 minutes ago has tweeted saying that, and I quote, "This morning I'm hosting Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi at the White House for a bilateral meeting. I look forward to strengthening the deep ties between our two nations. working to uphold a free and open Indo-Pacific. And of course, this is what we are coming to and tackling everything from COVID-19 to climate change. Mr. Vikri, now, Deep said that the C word is not mentioned publicly, but it is the elephant in the room. In fact, the Indo-Pacific has become a euphemism for China.
Well, I don't think that there's any question that the C word is, if not spoken, very prominent in regard to the whole purpose. But you will recall that President Biden has said that this is opening an era of diplomacy, and diplomacy encompasses more than just talking about the military threats and the movement of naval forces and so forth. It has to include the economics side. It has to include what happens in health. It has to include what happens in regard to climate. And those things are very much on the agenda, and we think there will be some deliverables. So China has played an economic geopolitical game for quite some time, whether it be through Belt and Road, whether it be through vaccine diplomacy. And so the importance of the Quad is to have a coalition of democracies in the Indo-Pacific area who can counteract these non-military aspects of being able to protect democracy and further the interest of all four countries. So it shouldn't be denigrated just because it's not per se a security operation. There is, as has been mentioned, the Operation Malabar, kinds of exercises. But there are other things that are happening in regard to being able to strengthen the supply chain of defense equipment from the United States. And those things are going forward. But this has its own role to play, and it's a very important one.
Certainly. Meera Shankar, let me come to you on that note. Is this not just territorial claims, but also trade wars, which has become a Chinese imprint? It's economic, it's geopolitical, it's strategic. Are groupings like the Quad and AUKUS enough to deal with the fact that China has this multi-pronged, step ahead of the world?
Well, whether it's enough or not is something we are going to see in future, because it's still very much something which is a work in progress. It's not a finished product as yet. They're still defining what they're going to do, and then what their deliverables will be and how they deliver. I think that is going to be the question. But I think it's important because they're taking a much broader approach than just, military power, which can be a deterrent and which can also be used as a scalpel in certain situations. But otherwise, it can be a very blunt instrument and it doesn't deliver. So there you need economic influence. This was the US of the Marshall Plan in Europe. It provided very generous assistance to Europe to rebuild after the Second World War. It provided generous assistance to developing countries. It also had very large scholarship and educational programs to enable students from other countries to come to the US. I mean, this, security is not just the military dimension. It's a much broader concept. And yes, the Quad is focusing on areas where they feel comfortable right now. And it's not a security alliance as yet. Though, if you look at it, the defense relations, the US and Japan and Australia are already treaty partners. India has strong defense ties with the US and is now developing stronger ties with both Japan and Australia. We have the Malabar exercise. We have bilateral logistics support agreements with the three of them, with Japan, Australia, US. That is, we will provide reciprocal assistance to each other logistically, to each other's forces. So, there are different ways in which this will go. The Quad as a grouping is focusing on areas which will have a public impact. For instance, vaccine diplomacy, then critical technologies, I think, which is very important because the world shouldn't really be, dependent on any one country for supply chains in critical areas. And then there's the question of security in critical areas like telecommunications, for instance, 5G, or semiconductors. We are seeing that the shortage of semiconductors is impacting, say, for instance, our automobile industry in India, where if you now book, you have several months of wait before you can get a car because production has slowed down. So then you have rare earths and minerals, or you have active pharmaceutical ingredients. So the question of de-risking supply chains, diversifying them, and creating stable alternative supply chains, I think, will be not just an economic question, but also a strategic question, because much of the competition is going to play out in future in terms of technology, because whoever controls that technology will, in a sense, exercise dominant influence. So you can see that the strategic competition between the US and China in the field of technology is growing. And here you can also look at the strengths of the Quad, because, say, chip design, most of the chip designing for US chip manufacturers is done in India. The designers are Indian. Then you have, production in the US also doesn't have sufficient production. So all these things, I think, are going to be on the table, and it would be good if something demonstrable, if in one area we have something solid, concrete, and demonstrable that we can deliver to the world.
Well, Dr. Karta, Meera Shankar referred to the technological war, but that is certainly one aspect. But given the fact that China is so embedded in the world economy, given the fact that the economic heft and might of China, does it put it at a natural advantage to several other countries, including the member nations of Quad and AUKUS, the dependence on China in the global economy?
About Quad, I think first thing what we need to realize is it's about India. Because Japan, Australia, and the US have their separate treaty. That's a treaty alliance. This is about India. Number two, this is about a web of alliances, right? The China has no alliances with anybody. Its best friend is Pakistan. So you have the US creating these separate alliances with various countries for different purposes. And that makes China very uncomfortable because that he has no, and nobody to sort of do this kind of thing with. So Japan being part of this as well. On the economic, the dependencies are worrying. There are very strong dependencies in India as well on China. But you can't, which is why I think we have not chosen not to walk away. Despite Ladakh, and that was also stressed in today's briefing, that India has told the US that we are still confident of engaging with the Chinese on Ladakh. So that's another reason. Plus, it's a neighbor. There's nothing much we can do about neighbors, right? So Quad is, like, I think I agree, is one more quiver in your bow, so to speak. It's one more weapon, not weapon, one more thing that you can use in your diplomacy. It is important. It's about India. It's how much, it's just that I think a little bit overemphasis on security is not desirable. There's a lot about Quad, and I think we'll see this tomorrow, which is not about security at all, which is about all these other things that we talked of, including, like I said earlier, supply chain in semiconductors, which I hope we can tie up, in energy with the US and with Australia, and in defense, in building our own defense industrial base. That is a priority for this government. So those are the things that we are looking at. Security is also there, but like we said, we are not treaty partners. There is a limit, and we want those limits.
Deepal, final word to you. We're actually running out of time, and of course, there's so much to discuss. We're going to continue on the other side of a break as we're waiting for the shots of the photo op between Narendra Modi and Joe Biden. We're still, well, the Prime Minister has reached the White House. We're still waiting for those pictures, though. Deep, at a larger level, China has taken center stage in the global discourse, in the global economic, military. There isn't a place that China isn't that when it comes to global discourse. Where are we going from here?
If I had the answer to that, Aarti, I would possibly be the richest person in the world. But I think what we will increasingly see happen is like-minded countries, which in the current scenario is the Quad. We will see more of them coming together. We will, and that is how basically Quad has been developed. You see, it doesn't have a secretariat. It's a loose coalition of the willing, if that is what you want to call it, right? So I don't see it impossible that you will see, let's say, a South Korea coming together with the Quad. The Quad plus formula is something that has been talked about. So, and that is the beauty of this kind of a formulation, right? Other countries, but also the countries that are already in there, namely
Deep,
India.
I'm so sorry. I'm really sorry to interrupt you, Deep. I'll allow you to continue, but on the screen right now are the visuals of President Joe Biden along with Narendra Modi. These are visuals from the Oval Office in the White House. This is the first picture that has come. We are, of course, expecting more of that. But on your screen are the visuals of the Prime Minister and Joe Biden in their first face-to-face meet. Deep, I'm so sorry. Please go ahead.
As I was saying, Aarti, essentially the fact that even for India, there isn't this a coalition of this kind allows India or any other country to choose how far they're willing to go, how much they're willing to do, and what they are willing to do. Something like an AUKUS tells us that there is appetite for a kind of a military coalition, and it's very clear that India is not going to be part of that coalition. That is not the path that India wishes to take, or rather can take, and that is perfectly all right. Moving forward, I think whether we call it Quad, whether we call it Quad Plus, whether we call it something else, we will see more and more willing countries come together, choosing sides, doing things together. And as other panelists were saying, basically not just for military or strategic reasons, but even for economic or critical reasons, like ensuring a supply chain that does not necessarily depend only on China, or ensuring that semiconductors, which are among the most important components for the world economy that you can think of, they are in supply, ensuring that things like vaccines, which in view of the pandemic that we are still to come out of, they are in supply for the entire country. So I think countries will keep coming together and working together. And I think it shows a great deal of foresight for the Quad to keep their focus on things like climate change, on things like vaccines, on things like critical technologies and components to show the way forward.
Well, common interests, common concerns, including that of China, the security situation in the Afghanistan-Pakistan region as well. Ladies and gentlemen, completely out of time this evening. Thank you so much for speaking to us this evening. I appreciate it.